6 a.m. Arizona State Prison Complex in Florence. Death row inmate Marcus Thompson wakes up in his regular cell for the last time. In exactly 24 hours, the state of Arizona will attempt to execute him by lethal injection. But this isn't like Florida or Texas, where executions go smoothly. This is Arizona, where 3 out of the last 7 executions have been botched, where one man gasped for air for nearly 2 hours before dying, where executioners spent 25 minutes cutting into another man's groin trying to find a vein. Thompson knows this. He's been reading the news reports. He's been talking to other death row inmates who witnessed those struggles through the prison grapevine. He spent sleepless nights imagining what those final moments might feel like. The needle going in, the drugs flowing, and then maybe working, maybe not. Maybe dying peacefully in 10 minutes. Maybe gasping and struggling for 2 hours while witnesses watch in horror. In Arizona, you don't just face death. You face the possibility of torture disguised as justice. This is Thompson's final 24 hours, told moment by moment, from his regular death row cell to the death watch isolation cell, to the execution chamber where things will go terribly, predictably wrong. Before we watch a man die slowly, hit that subscribe button. We cover the darkest prison stories in America, the ones that expose how broken the system really is. Now, let's walk Marcus Thompson to his death. If you believe these stories need to be told, hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications. Marcus Thompson has been on Arizona's death row for 19 years, since 2007. He was convicted of shooting and killing Maria Martinez during an armed robbery at a convenience store in Phoenix. The crime was brutal and senseless. Thompson needed money for drugs, walked into the store with a gun, demanded cash, and when Martinez reached for the phone to call 911, Thompson shot her twice in the chest. She died before the ambulance arrived, leaving behind a husband and 2 young daughters. Thompson was arrested 3 days later, trying to use Martinez's stolen credit cards. The evidence was overwhelming. Surveillance footage, fingerprints, the murder weapon found in his apartment. Thompson's defense argued diminished capacity due to drug addiction and mental illness, but the jury wasn't buying it. They recommended death unanimously. The judge agreed. 19 years later, Thompson has exhausted every appeal. The Arizona Supreme Court denied his final petition 3 months ago. Governor Katie Hobbs denied clemency 2 weeks ago despite concerns about Arizona's execution protocols. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear his case last week. Thompson's execution is scheduled for tomorrow, March 15, 2026, at 10 a.m. There are no more legal options. No more delays. No more hope. Just 24 hours until the state tries to kill him. And based on Arizona's recent track record, tries being the operative word. At 7 a.m., Warden Frank Mason and 2 corrections officers arrive at Thompson's cell on death row. "Marcus, it's time to move to death watch," Mason says quietly. Thompson nods. He's been expecting this. Arizona recently changed its protocol from 35 days of death watch isolation to just 7 days, trying to be more humane. Thompson spent the last week in a special observation cell, but now he's being moved to the cell directly adjacent to the execution chamber for his final 24 hours. The guards place Thompson in handcuffs and leg irons. They walk him through the death row unit past other condemned men who watch silently from their cells. Some nod. Some look away. One calls out, "Stay strong, Marcus." Another whispers, "We'll remember you." The walk to the death watch cell takes 5 minutes through corridors Thompson has never seen before, corridors that lead to the execution chamber. The death watch cell is smaller than his regular cell. 6 feet by 9 feet, concrete walls painted institutional beige, a metal bunk, a stainless steel toilet sink combination, a small desk with a chair. The difference is the observation window where Officer James Davis sits with a clipboard, watching Thompson's every move, logging everything. 0707 hours. Inmate Thompson transferred to death watch. Calm demeanor. No resistance. Thompson sits on the bunk and stares at the wall. 23 hours left. Officer Davis slides a breakfast tray through the slot in Thompson's cell door. Powdered eggs, cold toast, orange juice, coffee. Thompson forces himself to eat even though his stomach is in knots. He knows he needs to keep his strength up, though for what purpose he's not entirely sure. After breakfast, Thompson is allowed to shower in the small stall in his cell. The warm water feels good, almost normal, and for a few minutes he can pretend this is just another day. But when the water stops and he dries off with the thin prison towel, reality crashes back. He's showering for the last time. He puts on a clean Arizona Department of Corrections uniform, dark blue shirt, dark blue pants. The clothes feel stiff and new. He wonders if they give condemned inmates fresh uniforms so they look presentable during the execution, so the witnesses don't have to see someone die in dirty prison clothes. Thompson sits back on his bunk and tries to organize his thoughts. How do you prepare to die? He's thought about this moment for 19 years, ever since the jury foreman read the death sentence aloud in court. He's imagined it thousands of times. But now that it's actually here, now that he can count the hours on one hand, he realizes you can never really be prepared. His mind keeps drifting to the botched executions. Joseph Wood, 2014, gasped for air for almost 2 hours. The witnesses said it looked like a fish out of water, gulping and struggling. Thompson shudders. What if that happens to him? At 9 a.m., Chaplain Robert Ellis arrives at Thompson's cell. Ellis is a kind-faced African-American man in his late 50s who has been the prison chaplain for 12 years. He's walked 14 men to their executions. Thompson isn't particularly religious, never has been, but there's something comforting about Ellis's presence. Someone who cares about his soul even as the state prepares to destroy his body. Ellis sits on a stool outside the observation window and asks Thompson how he's feeling. Thompson gives a bitter laugh. How do you think I'm feeling? I'm terrified, Chaplain. Not just of dying, but of how I'm going to die. You know what they did to Joseph Wood. You know what happened to Clarence Dixon. I've read all the reports. I'm scared it's going to happen to me too. Ellis nods slowly. He can't lie and say everything will be fine. He's seen Arizona's executions. He knows the risks. I can't promise you it will be painless, Marcus, Ellis says quietly. I wish I could. What I can promise is that I'll be there with you until the very end. You won't die alone. And I believe, truly believe, that whatever pain you might experience is temporary, but what comes after is eternal peace. Thompson wants to believe that. He needs to believe that. They pray together. Thompson's voice shaking as he asks God for forgiveness for Maria Martinez's murder, for forgiveness for the pain he caused her family, for peace in whatever comes next. When Ellis leaves, promising to return later, Thompson feels slightly calmer. Slightly. 21 hours left. Jennifer Cole, Thompson's attorney for the past 8 years, arrives for what will be their last conversation. She looks exhausted, dark circles under her eyes from sleepless nights, filing appeals that went nowhere, motions that were denied, arguments that fell on deaf ears. Cole sits across from Thompson in a small visiting room adjacent to Death Watch. They can speak through a phone, separated by thick glass. I'm sorry, Marcus, Cole says, her voice breaking. I tried everything. Every legal argument. Every procedural challenge. I even tried to get the courts to halt the execution based on Arizona's botched execution history, arguing it violates the 8th Amendment prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment. They denied it. I failed you. Thompson shakes his head. You didn't fail me, Jennifer. The system failed both of us. You fought harder than anyone could have asked. I'm grateful. They spend the next 30 minutes going over Thompson's final wishes. His body will be cremated, ashes given to his sister in California. He's written a final statement that will be read after the execution. He's designated 5 people as witnesses, including Cole, Chaplain Ellis, and Maria Martinez's daughter Lisa, who wants to watch him die. Cole is crying openly now. I'll be there, she promises, I won't let you go through this alone. And Marcus, for what it's worth, I believe you found genuine remorse for what you did. That matters. After Cole leaves, Thompson returns to his death watch cell. Officer Davis logs the visit. 20 hours left. Lunch arrives at noon. A sandwich, chips, apple, milk. Prison food. Thompson eats mechanically, not tasting anything. His mind is elsewhere, cycling through memories. His childhood in South Phoenix. His mother, who died when he was 12. His descent into drug addiction in his 20s. The night he walked into that convenience store with a gun. Maria Martinez's face when she realized he was going to shoot her. The guilt has been crushing him for 19 years. But guilt doesn't bring anyone back. Guilt doesn't change anything. After lunch, Thompson lies on his bunk and tries to meditate, something he learned from a Buddhist inmate years ago. Focus on the breath. In and out. In and out. Try to find some peace in the present moment instead of dreading the future. But his mind keeps jumping ahead. Tomorrow morning. The execution chamber. The gurney. The restraints. The 4 needles. The drugs flowing. Please, God, let it be quick. Please don't let me suffer like Joseph would. Please. Officer Davis watches through the window, logging Thompson's activity. 1,245 hours. Inmate lying on bunk. Appears to be meditating or sleeping. No outward signs of distress. But Davis can see Thompson's chest rising and falling too quickly. He's not sleeping. He's scared. 18 hours left. Across town in Phoenix, Lisa Martinez sits in her living room with old photographs of her mother spread across the coffee table. Lisa was 13 when her mother was murdered by Marcus Thompson 19 years ago. Now she's 32, married with a daughter of her own who never got to meet her grandmother. Lisa has told reporters she needs to witness Thompson's execution for closure. But sitting here looking at her mother's smiling face in these photos, she's not sure what she expects to feel tomorrow. Relief? Justice? Satisfaction? Or just more emptiness where her mother used to be? Lisa's husband asks if she's sure she wants to go through with this. Watching someone die, even someone who killed your mother, is traumatic. Lisa nods firmly. I need to be there. Mom deserves someone from our family to see this through. I need to look him in the eye one last time and know that he finally faced consequences for what he did. But privately, Lisa is terrified. She's read about Arizona's botched executions. She knows there's a chance tomorrow won't go smoothly. What if Thompson suffers? Part of her thinks he deserves to suffer after what he did to her mother. But another part, a part she doesn't like to acknowledge, worries that watching a man die slowly will haunt her for the rest of her life. She loads the photos back into the album and tries to prepare herself mentally for tomorrow. She has no idea what she's walking into. Thompson sits at the small desk in his cell with a notepad and pen, writing his final statement. Arizona allows condemned inmates to prepare written last words that will be read after the execution. What do you say when these are your last words to the world? Thompson writes, to the Martinez family, I am deeply, truly sorry for taking Maria's life. No apology can ever be enough. I've carried the weight of what I did every day for 19 years. I hope my death brings you some measure of peace. To my sister Carmen, I love you. Thank you for never giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. Tell your kids their uncle wasn't a monster, just a man who made terrible choices and spent the rest of his life regretting them. To the state of Arizona, I pray that I die quickly and painlessly. But if I don't, I hope my suffering makes you question whether this system is justice or just revenge. To everyone watching, learn from my mistakes. Drugs destroyed my life and cost Maria hers. Don't let that be your story. Thompson sets down the pen. Is that enough? Will anyone even care what he has to say after he's dead? Probably not. The world will move on. Maria's family might feel temporary satisfaction, and Marcus Thompson will just be another statistic. Execution number 39 in Arizona since 1976. Officer Davis logs, 1,515 hours, inmate writing. Appears emotional. 15 hours left. At 4 p.m., Warden Mason returns to Thompson's cell to review the execution procedure. This is protocol. The warden must explain exactly what will happen so the condemned inmate knows what to expect. Mason sits on the stool outside the observation window and speaks in a measured, clinical tone. Marcus, tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m., you'll be moved from this cell to a holding area adjacent to the execution chamber. At 9:45 a.m., witnesses will be brought into the viewing room. At 10 a.m. exactly, you'll be escorted into the chamber and secured to the gurney. The medical team will insert 4 lines into both arms. I'll ask if you have any final words to speak aloud. Then the drugs will be administered. First, pentobarbital, which should render you unconscious within minutes. The entire procedure typically takes 10 to 15 minutes from first injection to pronouncement of death. Do you understand? Thompson nods slowly, then asks the question that's been haunting him. What if it doesn't work right? What if I end up like Joseph Wood, gasping for 2 hours? Mason's professional mask slips slightly. He looks uncomfortable. We've improved our protocols since 2014. We've trained our medical team extensively. We're using pentobarbital, which is more reliable than the drugs we used on Wood. It should go smoothly. Should, Thompson repeats. But it might not. And if it doesn't, there's nothing I can do. I'll just have to suffer until it finally kills me. Mason has no response to that because Thompson is right. After the warden leaves, Thompson sits in heavy silence. 14 hours left. At 5 p.m., Officer Davis asks Thompson what he wants for his last meal. Arizona doesn't have the same restrictions as some states, no dollar limit, and they'll try to provide whatever is requested within reason. Thompson thinks for a long moment. What do you eat when it's your last meal ever? He finally requests his mother's recipe: fried chicken, mashed potatoes, collard greens, cornbread, and sweet tea. It's the meal she used to make for his birthday when he was a kid, before she got sick, before she died, before everything went wrong. The meal arrives at 7 p.m., prepared with surprising care by the prison kitchen. Thompson stares at it for a full minute before eating. It doesn't taste exactly like his mother's cooking, nothing could, but it's close enough to bring tears to his eyes. He eats slowly, savoring every bite, knowing these are the last flavors he'll ever experience. The sweet tea is perfect. The cornbread melts in his mouth. The fried chicken is crispy and warm. For these few minutes, Thompson isn't on death row. He's 8 years old again, sitting at his mother's kitchen table, safe and loved and innocent. When the meal is finished, reality crashes back. He'll never taste food again. Officer Davis logs, 19:30 hours, last meal consumed. Inmate appeared emotional. 11 hours left. Chaplain Ellis returns at 8 p.m. for a longer pastoral visit. Thompson needs spiritual comfort more than ever as the hours dwindle. They sit together in near silence for a while, Ellis praying quietly, Thompson trying to find some inner peace. Finally, Thompson asks, "Chaplain, do you think God can forgive me for what I did to Maria? I took a life. I destroyed a family. Does someone like me get to go to heaven?" Ellis takes a moment before responding. "Marcus, I believe God's mercy is infinite. I believe genuine repentance matters. I've known you for years now. I've seen your remorse. I've seen how you've tried to become a better person even knowing you die here. That transformation is real. God sees that." Thompson wants so desperately to believe that. "I'm still scared," he admits. "Not just of dying, but of what comes after. What if there's nothing? What if I just stop existing? Or what if there is something, and I'm judged and found wanting?" "None of us knows what comes after," Ellis says gently. "That's where faith comes in. But I'll tell you this, whatever is waiting on the other side, facing it with peace in your heart is better than facing it with terror. Let go of the fear if you can. Accept what's coming. Find forgiveness for yourself, because that's the only forgiveness that really matters in the end. They pray together again, Thompson's voice steadier this time. When Ellis leaves, promising to return in the morning for the walk to the chamber, Thompson feels a strange calm settling over him. 10 hours left. The lights in Death Watch dim at 10 p.m., but Thompson doesn't sleep. How could he? His last night on Earth. And he's supposed to just close his eyes and drift off? Instead, he lies on his bunk, staring at the ceiling, counting the hours and minutes. Officer Davis changes shifts at midnight. The new guard, Officer Martinez, no relation to the victim, takes over the observation log. Thompson occasionally shifts position, gets up to use the toilet, drinks water from the sink. But mostly he just lies there, existing in the space between life and the knowledge of exactly when that life will end. At 2 a.m., Thompson thinks about Maria Martinez in her final moments. Did she know she was about to die when he raised the gun? Did she have time to think about her daughters, her husband, the life she was about to lose? Probably. And that makes his guilt even heavier. She died terrified and in pain because of him. In 8 hours, he'll die too, but at least he knows it's coming. At least he's had 19 years to prepare. Maria got no preparation, no time to make peace. At 4 a.m., the sky outside begins to lighten slightly. Thompson watches the dim glow through the high window in his cell. His last sunrise. In Arizona, they execute inmates in the morning, unlike some states that do it at midnight. Thompson will die with sunlight streaming through the execution chamber windows. He's not sure if that's better or worse. 6 hours left. At 6 a.m., Officer Martinez slides a breakfast tray through the slot, the same powdered eggs, toast, coffee. Thompson eats a little, drinks the coffee, tries to keep his stomach calm. At 7 a.m., Warden Mason arrives with paperwork. Thompson signs documents acknowledging he understands the execution procedure and that his final wishes have been recorded. He signs his name with a surprisingly steady hand. At 8 a.m., Thompson is allowed one final phone call to his sister Carmen in California. She's been crying for hours, her voice thick with grief. "I love you, Marcus," she sobs. "I know you made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but you're still my brother. I'll never forget you." "I love you too, Carmen," Thompson says, his own voice breaking now. "Take care of yourself. Tell your kids about me someday, when they're old enough. Tell them the whole story, the good and the bad. Don't let me just be remembered as the man who committed murder. Let me be remembered as someone who tried to change, even when it was too late." The call ends at 8:15 a.m. Thompson hangs up the phone and returns to his cell. At 8:30 a.m., Chaplain Ellis arrives for the final time. "I'm ready," Thompson tells him. "I'm scared, but I'm ready." Ellis nods. "I'll be with you every step of the way. When we walk to that chamber, you won't be alone." At 9 a.m., a prison barber comes to give Thompson a quick trim and shave. They want him presentable for the witnesses. The barber works in silence, his hands gentle. When he's done, Thompson looks in the small mirror. He barely recognizes himself. 1 hour left. At 9:30 a.m., exactly as Warden Mason described, 2 officers come for Thompson. They place him in handcuffs and leg irons. Chaplain Ellis walks beside him as they leave the death watch cell and move down a short corridor to the holding area. Thompson can see the execution chamber door ahead. His heart is pounding so hard he's sure everyone can hear it. The holding cell is tiny, maybe 4 feet by 6 feet, just a bench and bare walls. Through a small window, Thompson can see into the execution chamber. The gurney waiting, the 4 equipment set up, the window where witnesses will watch. This is real. This is actually happening. 30 minutes until they strap him down and try to kill him. Thompson sits on the bench with Chaplain Ellis beside him. They don't speak much. There's nothing left to say. Ellis holds a Bible but doesn't read from it. Just his presence is enough. At 9:45 a.m., Thompson hears movement in the witness room. People are arriving. Lisa Martinez and her husband. Jennifer Cole, his attorney. Media witnesses. Prison officials. People gathering to watch a man die. Thompson closes his eyes and tries to control his breathing. In and out. In and out. It's time, Warden Mason says quietly from the doorway. Thompson stands on shaking legs. Chaplain Ellis stands with him. They walk the final 15 feet to the execution chamber door. The door opens. Thompson sees the gurney. This is it. Thompson walks into the execution chamber with Chaplain Ellis beside him. The room is smaller than he imagined, maybe 15 feet by 20 feet, with pale green walls and harsh fluorescent lighting. The gurney dominates the center of the room, black leather with restraint straps hanging off the sides. Beyond it, the witness room window, currently covered by a curtain. For corrections officers, wait inside along with Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the prison physician who will pronounce death. Her face is pale and drawn. Thompson knows she hates this part of her job, but is contractually obligated to participate. Marcus Thompson, please lie down on the gurney, Warden Mason instructs. Thompson complies, his movements stiff and mechanical. As soon as he's horizontal, the officers move quickly, efficiently. Chest strap, waist strap, arm straps extending his arms crucifixion style, leg straps. The restraints are snug but not painful. Thompson can barely move. He stares at the ceiling, breathing too fast, trying not to panic. A member of the execution team, masked, identity concealed, enters through a side door. This is the person who will insert the 4 catheters. Thompson watches as the team member approaches with needles and tubing. This might pinch a little, the person says quietly. Thompson feels the needle go into his left arm. A sharp sting, then pressure. The catheter slides in. The team member tapes it down and attaches tubing. Then moves to the right arm. This one is harder. The needle misses the vein on the first try. Thompson winces. Sorry, the team member mutters, trying again. This time it works. Both 4 lines are in place. Saline solution flowing to keep the lines open. Thompson is ready to die. Warden Mason steps forward. The curtain covering the witness room window opens. Thompson can see them now. Lisa Martinez in the front row, her face hard with anger and grief. Jennifer Cole beside her, already crying. Media witnesses with notebooks. Prison officials, all watching him. Marcus Thompson, Mason says formally, you have been sentenced to death by the state of Arizona for the murder of Maria Martinez. The sentence will now be carried out. Do you wish to make a final statement? Thompson's voice comes out hoarse but clear. Yes. Lisa Martinez, I see you there. I want you to know that I am deeply, profoundly sorry for killing your mother. I took her from you, from your sister, from your father. No words can express my regret. I hope my death brings you peace. He pauses, swallowing hard. To everyone watching, I deserve this punishment. I committed murder. But I also pray that my death is quick. And if it's not, I hope you'll question whether this system is really about justice. To Chaplain Ellis, thank you for your kindness. To Jennifer Cole, thank you for fighting for me. And to my sister Carmen, I love you. I'm ready. Thompson closes his eyes. He feels Chaplain Ellis's hand on his arm, offering comfort. Warden Mason signals to the execution team behind the one-way mirror. The drugs are about to flow. Thompson takes what he believes will be his last conscious breath. It's 10:03 a.m. In 10 minutes, according to protocol, he should be dead. But this is Arizona. Nothing goes according to protocol in Arizona. The pentobarbital begins flowing at 10:03 a.m. Thompson feels a cold sensation moving up his arm from the foresight. Within seconds, the drug should render him unconscious. His eyes close. His breathing slows. In the witness room, Lisa Martinez watches intently, her hands clenched into fists. For 2 minutes, everything seems to be working. Thompson appears deeply sedated, motionless on the gurney. But at 10:05 a.m., something changes. Thompson's chest begins moving strangely. His mouth opens. He makes a sound, a gasp, like someone desperately trying to breathe. Then another gasp. And another. Jennifer Cole leans forward, alarmed. "Something's wrong," she whispers. Thompson's eyes are still closed, but his chest is heaving now, his mouth opening and closing rhythmically like a fish out of water. Exactly like the witnesses described Joseph Wood's execution in 2014. Gasp, gasp, gasp. The medical team behind the mirror confers urgently. Dr. Mitchell enters the chamber and checks Thompson's sedation level. She shines a light in his eyes. Pupils don't react. He's deeply sedated, unconscious, but his body is fighting to breathe. This is called agonal breathing or air hunger, a condition where the body desperately gasps for oxygen even though the person is unconscious. It looks horrific, but supposedly the inmate doesn't feel it. Supposedly. At 10:10 a.m., 7 minutes into the execution, Thompson is still gasping. The witnesses are getting visibly disturbed. One media witness looks away. Lisa Martinez stares with a mixture of horror and satisfaction. This is taking too long. Something has gone wrong. Again. By 10:30 a.m., Thompson has been gasping rhythmically for 25 minutes. The medical team administers a second dose of pentobarbital, trying to speed the process. The gasping continues. At 11 a.m., 1 full hour into the execution, Jennifer Cole requests permission to leave the witness room. She's seen enough. The warden denies the request. Witnesses must remain until the execution is complete. By 11:30 a.m., 90 minutes in, Thompson has gasped approximately 600 times. Some witnesses are counting. The rhythm never stops. Gasp, pause 3 seconds. Gasp, pause 3 seconds. Gasp. Dr. Mitchell enters the chamber every 15 minutes to check for signs of death. Thompson's heart is still beating. His chest is still moving. He won't die. At 11:45 a.m., Jennifer Cole asks through the intercom if they can give Thompson medical intervention, if they can stop this and resuscitate him. Warden Mason explains that once the execution begins, they cannot stop. They must continue until death occurs. Lisa Martinez watches the entire 2 hours without looking away. She watches Thompson's body struggle. She watches his mouth open and close hundreds of times. Later, she'll tell reporters she doesn't know how she feels. It's not satisfaction. It's not closure. It's just horror. At 12 p.m., 2 full hours since the execution began, Thompson is still alive, still gasping. The medical team administers a third dose of pentobarbital. Finally, mercifully, at 12:15 p.m., the gasping slows. Stops. Dr. Mitchell enters and checks for vital signs. She places her stethoscope on Thompson's chest. No heartbeat. She checks his pupils. No reaction. She checks for breathing. Nothing. At 12:17 p.m., 2 hours and 14 minutes after the execution began, Dr. Mitchell makes the official pronouncement. I declare this inmate deceased. Marcus Thompson is dead. The curtain closes on the witness room. The witnesses are escorted out in stunned silence. Lisa Martinez walks out without speaking to anyone, her face pale. Jennifer Cole is crying uncontrollably. The media witnesses head to a press briefing room where they'll describe what they saw for the assembled reporters. It was like watching someone drown, one witness says. He gasped and struggled for over 2 hours. I've covered 5 executions, and I've never seen anything like this. Warden Mason holds a press conference. He defends the execution, stating that Thompson was deeply sedated and felt no pain, that the gasping was an involuntary physical response, not conscious suffering. The execution was carried out according to protocol, Mason insists. But reporters push back. How is 2 hours and 14 minutes according to protocol, when the procedure should take 10 minutes? What went wrong? Why does this keep happening in Arizona? Mason has no satisfactory answers. In the execution chamber, Thompson's body is removed from the gurney. He'll be taken to the prison morgue, then released to his sister for cremation, as he requested. The gurney is cleaned. The floor equipment is stored. The room is prepared for the next execution, scheduled in 6 months. Arizona has 38 more people on death row. Governor Katie Hobbs issues a statement saying she is concerned about the length of the execution and has ordered another review of protocols. It's the same statement Governor Jan Brewer made in 2014 after Joseph Wood's botched execution. Nothing changed then. Nothing will change now. The machinery of Arizona's death penalty grinds forward, producing the same failures, the same suffering, the same horror, over and over again. Marcus Thompson is dead. Maria Martinez has been dead for 19 years. 2 lives ended by violence, one by Thompson's hand, one by the state's. Neither death brought healing. Neither death served justice. Both just added more suffering to the world. That's the reality of Arizona's death penalty. Not neat or clean or quick. Messy, prolonged, broken. Thompson took 2 hours and 14 minutes to die, gasping the entire time, while witnesses watched in horror. His execution will be investigated. A report will be issued. Recommendations will be made. Nothing will change. Because in Arizona, botched executions aren't exceptions to the system. They are the system. And the next condemned inmate is already counting down his final hours, wondering if he'll be lucky enough to die quickly, or if he'll gasp for 2 hours like Marcus Thompson did. That's the reality of Arizona's death penalty. 2 hours and 14 minutes of gasping while the state tried to kill a man. If this story disturbed you, subscribe for more prison documentaries that expose the truth about America's broken execution system. Comment below. Is this justice or is this torture? Should Arizona halt all executions until they fix their protocols? Thanks for watching. And remember, when the state can't even kill people humanely, maybe the state shouldn't be killing people at all.